Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I am bringing to you guys is the March release notes, patch notes from the PTR. Now, these have just been released on the forums in the last hour or so, and there's some interesting changes that I wanted to bring to your guys' attention. Now, bear in mind, it says here that these are PTR only changes. That being said, the majority of these changes should be either in the live game at some point in the near future, whether it is with the March patch or is already in the March patch. But these have just been changes that have only applied to the PTR for right now. Obviously, we'll have to wait for the full list when it is released before the March update to get what is exactly going to be coming out with this update. But it is likely that most of these things, particularly the stuff on the new expedition, will have already been done or will be getting done as a result of this patch, and those changes will come into fruition. That being said, if you are new to the channel, please do make sure that you drop a subscribe down below. It massively helps to support me and my content here on the channel, and I would really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's jump into the notes here. So the first thing you will see is the Tempest Heart Expedition. Mutators here have been enabled for testing the Tempest Heart Expedition. Grab a team and attempt to climb the rank as high as you can. Don't forget to leave feedback based on your run experiences. This is a huge thing because the brand new expedition, if you haven't played it yet, is quite a bit more difficult than the previous versions of Lazarus, for example, or Genesis, or even Dynasty Shipyard. This expedition is pretty long for a start. It's got quite a lot of bosses, and these bosses are pretty difficult. Like I've mentioned a few times in videos before, I don't want to spoil this preemptively for anybody, but the bosses in this have got some unique animation styles, some combat styles that actually make them pretty challenging. So this on Mutations, particularly upwards of Mutation 6, is going to be quite a formidable force, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how this is actually going to work out. So hopefully I'll try and do some testing and see what it feels like, how it's actually going to work, give you guys an update on things like the timer, how long you actually get, how many mobs you need to kill, etc., because this could be a pretty difficult challenge. Now it says, as a reminder, Mutators changed the familiar by augmenting normal and named enemies found within expeditions, changing the way that the encounters play out and what strategies players should consider before the battle. And as combat changes, so do the rewards. New bespoke gear and rewards can be found, providing additional means to increase your power level, obviously being the umbral shards and the gear drops that you get from those higher levels. Now, backstories for the PTR have been updated to accommodate the mutated testing, now providing equipment at gear score 600 from the 585 that we had before. Players will need to create a new character, however, to take advantage of these backstories, and also then obviously get their upgraded item packages. They've also fixed a number of combat related bugs within the new expedition and updated the rewards for defeating bosses. So yeah, this is a very very and interesting change. I know it's something we talked a lot about here on the channel previously when this was first announced and when I first played through it, saying that it'd be cool but it'd be very difficult. So it'd be interesting to see what the rewards are like, but I'm very excited to jump in and try this out, and I thought that was big enough news by itself to warrant a video, because that is very cool and something very exciting. It's the first mutation and regular expedition that we've seen added to the game, and it's coming to both of those fields, which is amazing. Now, the next thing that we're jumping into here is the Blunderbuss, and this again has received quite a number of changes, like we saw a few in the previous 3 and 2 notes. Again, we're back at it, and this is obviously the gradual ongoing release of the Blunderbuss. People are testing it in different ways, and thankfully AGS are being very reactive, super reactive indeed, to this weapon and how people are using it. And as such, by the time it gets to live servers, looking at these changes again, hopefully it should be a lot more on the balance side. So what we've seen here are fixed a number of bugs related to the abilities and perks, which is great, streamlining it. Performed a balance pass based on player feedback, which has reduced the base damage of the Blunderbuss from 80 to 75. They've also changed mortar charge, where they've reduced the mortar charge damage from 126% to 100%. Remove damage bonus from Streak upgrade. Streak now only gives an extra shot. And fixed issue where crits were not properly increasing the damage when triggered. So again, your crits are going to do more damage. Your Streak is not going to do more damage, but it is going to still give you the extra shot. And the base damage is now 100% weapon damage instead of 126%. Now with Blast Shot Preparation upgrade reduced the Rend bonus from 20% down to 10%. This actually does make a lot of sense. It falls way more in line with Warhammer, the Great Axe, etc. that have been known to give those rends. These are around the 8 to 10% mark, so having that 20% was a huge big advantage that everybody was going to be rocking. That's been changed, thankfully. I do like that much more because that does bring it in line with the other weapons, so it does make sense. So again, great change there. And then the Containment Unload Ultimate. This has removed the ability for the ultimate to stack up to 2. Now it will only allow for 1 shot of 9 pellets per ability use, which is of course as intended initially. Then we've also seen some general fixes here as well, where they've fixed an issue where the new out-of-combat passive healing was unintentionally active while a player is under corruption or blight debuff effects. This shouldn't be the case, so you will no longer receive those buffs then. And also the Last Argument Legendary Weapon Quest has had its reward improved, providing a weapon with correct gear score that matches the other legendary weapons. So that's good as well. Now in terms of combat, we've seen some more fixes here, or some more changes here. Firstly, the Hatchet and the Berserking Purge fixed an issue with this where the upgrade would not correctly purge stun debuffs. It now should do. Obviously, again, this was only in the PTR from previous iterations of it, but that's now fixed. Sword and Shield have seen further changes from the previous 2 and 3 patch notes again, where players now retain the attributes from their shield while a sword is equipped but sheathed. The perk bonuses will not apply and will need the sword to be unsheathed to activate them, but while a sword is sheathed, the shield's attributes count towards a player's stats. So that's actually really interesting, and of course, hopefully this doesn't mean that players can use it on their back with heavy armor to get the attributes there, but it does say when you've got a sword as well, so I think we should be in the clear for that. But obviously, hopefully people will test that before this gets released to live. But I do like that a lot more. It means that Sword and Shield players are going to have a little bit more freedom with their movement and with their combat style, while still being able to get their abilities and their bonuses from the shield, which is cool. They've also fixed an issue where player animation could break if they became encumbered while using weight reduction perks, and also reduced occurrences of combat-related stuttering and unresponsiveness when mixing light and heavy attacks. That's really good. That takes precedent in a lot of things within the PTR, and I'm glad that that's been addressed because that was annoying. Obviously, hopefully we don't see that in the main game and go into live with this update as well now, because that's been hit ahead of the time, which is always a really, really good thing. Now, looking at Outpost Rush, they've said joining an Outpost Rush match after Baroness Hayne has spawned will no longer display a broken timer on the HUD. This was also in patch notes 3, so hopefully that is fully fixed now, because that is, quite important. And then we've got Elite POIs. They've added a low chance drop rate of arena tuning orbs from the Elite AI enemies in Malevolence, Forecastle Drift, Spires of Melopony, and the Eternal Pool. This is really important because obviously it's the full arena tuning orb that you can get, and it might be a low drop chance, but it is something that you could then farm. It is something that players could get when they're doing their daily runs, if you're still doing them daily. Some players do them once a week, whatever. You're still going to get a chance at getting those tuning orbs for the arenas, which is really good. It's also going to mean that grind from 500 to 600 gear score, or expertise specifically. You're going to be able to do these elite zones. You can rotate through these ones that drop it, and then you've got a chance to go and do the arena boss as well, which gives further upgrades, and will give some umbral shards after this update too, so actually makes it a pretty good way to getting yourself in a nice little loop and rhythm of grinding out this expertise pretty quickly. Wars, you're going to see here, letters will appear on the gate markers and HUD during the war and invasion to help players better identify each gate. Again, this was mentioned in patch notes 3, so hopefully that is now into the game. The iteration is in, so we can see what that looks like inside the wars and invasions, because I would think that's kind of confusing at the first bit, but then afterwards will be super useful and helpful, so that'll be cool to see. Also, then we've got quest changes here where they have lowered the difficulty of the Corrupted Chaplain encounter, and killing withered beetles in Regal Fishery now properly gives quest credit. Again, if you're at those positions in the game, then that's going to be super useful. If not, you probably won't notice that one. Expeditions here then, they have fixed an issue where Dynasty Expedition was rewarding less gold compared to the other Mutated Expeditions. Now, hopefully, it should actually reward the same amount in line with the rest of the endgame expeditions, particularly with the new one coming in to be that Mutated version as well now. Hopefully, they're all in line, which makes a lot more sense. And they have taken a look at the in-game store, where character transfer panel now displays the number of free character transfers owned, so if you do have multiple, you will be able to see those in the store. Now, in terms of the UI, they've fixed several issues where entries in the social list wouldn't update when players went offline or online. They've fixed an issue where UI didn't update the sum of coin owned after purchases made in the trading post. They fixed an issue where the weapon quick slot UI element could disappear, and storage weight bar overage bar limit should now match the bar limit for the inventory. In other words, you'll actually be able to see the storage weight properly, which is really good because again that could be quite confusing. Then just to top this update off then for the patch notes 4, they've done some general fixes here. This is where they've fixed an issue where storage chests did not acquire updated weight capacity until they were moved. Fixed an issue where players would sometimes fail to equip ammo/arrows when at the inventory item limit. Fixed an issue where items would sometimes drop with an incorrect gear score above 600, so you shouldn't be seeing that. For those of you that thought we could be seeing that with this update, that is not the case. They fixed an issue where unpinned quests repin to the map after a relog, so again this should nicely clear up that bit of QOL stuff there. And finally here they have fixed an issue where the player character could result in using the incorrect resource gathering animation, so again, nice little polish up of the game. It's stuff that we like to see, and that is a pretty cool update all in all. But as most of you, including myself, will be the most excited about, it's the Tempest Heart Expedition, and particularly Mutators being enabled for it. And of course I'll be testing it out for myself very, very shortly. For those of you that haven't played it, let me know what your initial thoughts are before giving it a try as well, because for me, I'm excited to test it out, but I do hope that it's given fair chance, you know, we got a little bit more time or something like that, because again, this is a longer one, and I would say much more difficult than the previous versions. But nonetheless, very exciting to see that it's going to be added to the game as a regular and a mutated expedition, which is something a lot of us had wondered. So that is a really cool addition to the game, and I'm super excited to get hands-on with that once it jumps into the live servers. But that is going to be it for today's video, guys. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. Thank you for your time. I do hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, please do be sure to drop a like and subscribe down below. And I will catch you guys on a new upload very, very shortly. Take care, guys, and peace.